Hi everyone. We're going to learn how to solve and graph inequalities in this lesson here. But we're going to start with solving and graphing equations. Okay, so let's look at the first two problems where we are just solving and graphing equations. All right, let's solve the equation first. Let's add 4 to both sides. So we created a zero pair so we can eliminate minus 4 and get x all by itself. So this will give us 2x equals 10. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 5. Okay, now I'm going to graph the solution set. I'm going to make a number line. 0 is always in the center. I know 5 is somewhere on the right, so I'm just going to go ahead and label this 5. And our solution is x equals 5, so I can just go ahead and put a dot right there to show that on the number line, my answer and my only answer is 5. You go ahead and try the next one. Okay, let's see how you did. So subtract 6 from both sides so we can eliminate the plus 6 and get 3x all by negative 3x all by itself. Okay, so we'll have negative 3x equals 6. Divide both sides by negative 3. That means x equals negative 2. So let's draw the solution set. Okay, so negative 2 is somewhere on the left, so we'll mark this as negative 2. And we'll show that our solution is only negative 2, which is right here. How did you guys do? You got the same thing? Good job. Okay, so solving and graphing inequalities is so much like solving and graphing equations. All right, let's go ahead and start our first solving equation, solving inequalities. So add 6, just like you would do an equation. You have 5x is less than 9 plus 6 is 15. Divide both sides by 5 so we can get x by itself. X is less than 3. So now let's graph the solution set. 0 at the center. 3 would be somewhere to the right. Let's mark it over here. Okay, and our answer says x is less than 3. So we'll put a circle at 3, but we're not going to close it up. We're not going to darken it in or color it in. Okay, because if we color it in, we're saying that 3 is also part of the solution, but 3 is not part of the solution. We're going to put a circle, but leave it open and show that all the solutions to this inequality will be found on the left side of 3. So that means 2 will be a solution, 1 will be a solution, 0, negative 10, negative 1,000, negative 1,000,000. Okay, we'll make this inequality true. Anything less than 3 will work. Okay, but not 3, and that's why we left this circle open. Okay, let's go to the next one. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. we'll have 8x is greater than is greater than 25. 15 plus 10. We'll divide both sides by 8. X is greater than, okay, 8 goes into 25 3 times because 3 times 8 is 24. We take 24 from the top, we're still left with 1/8. Okay, so now let's go ahead and graph our solution set. 3/8 would be somewhere to the right. Let's mark it over here. And we want all those numbers greater than 3 1/8. So open circle, facing this direction, going to the right, showing that anything bigger than 3 1/8 will work. 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 million, okay, 1 trillion will work in this inequality. And the reason we graph the solution set because there's so many answers. We can't possibly list them all. So we use a visual to show what is included. All right, let's go to the next one. So we're going to add 8 to both sides to solve for x. So we'll have 4x is less than or equal to 24. We'll divide both sides by 4. So that means x is less than or equal to 6. And we will graph the solution. 0 is at the center. 6 will be somewhere to the right. We'll mark this as 6. Okay, this time our circle is going to be closed because 6 is part of our answer. So we're going to include 6 as part of our solution, and we do that by saying it's equal to. So this will be closed in because we're saying this is less than or equal to. So the answer can be 6 or anything less than 6. Okay, so 6 will be true. 5 will be true. 4, 3, 2, 1. Anything 6 or less will be true. All right, let's keep going. So we need to solve it for x. Let's add 14 to both sides to eliminate the minus 14 from here. So we can get the x term all by itself. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's fix that. I meant to cross it out. Okay, so we'll have 2x is greater than or equal to 21. Divide both sides by 2. X is greater than or equal to 10.5 or 10.5. Let's graph our solution set. We'll say 10.5 is somewhere here on the right of 0. Okay, this time it will be closed again because of the equal sign underneath, because 10.5 is also part of the solution set. So the answer is 10.5 or anything greater than that. Okay, number 7. We need to solve for x first. So let's add 5 to both sides to eliminate the minus 5. So we can get x by itself. So we'll have 1/2 x is greater than or equal to negative 8 plus 5. That's negative 3. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal so we can get x all by itself. The 1s will cancel, the 2s will cancel, giving us x on this side is greater than or equal to -6. And we will graph the solution set. 0, we know negative is going to be on the left side of 0, so we'll mark it over here. Okay, this will also be a closed circle because of the line underneath, because this reads x is greater than or equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle. So it's going to be -6 or anything greater. Okay, so -5, -4, -3, 10, 20, 50, 1,000, 1,000,000, all will be a true solution for this inequality. Okay, go ahead and start the next one. Okay, let's see how you did. So let's solve for x first. Let's add 2 to both sides. This will give us 1/3 x is less than or equal to -8 plus 2 is -6. We need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1/3. This will cancel, the 3's will cancel, giving us x is less than or equal to -18. We'll graph the solution set. 0, -18 will be to the left, somewhere over here, let's say. Okay, this will be a closed circle because we have an equal sign here. So x is equal to or less. So it's equal to, we show equal to by closing the circle. And we want equal to -18 or less. Anything less will make a true inequality. Okay, up to now, problems 1 through 8, we were working problems that had positive coefficient. Okay, so this is your new vocabulary word, coefficient. So what is the coefficient? It's the number in front of the variable. It's in front of the variable. The number in front of the variable is called the coefficient. Okay, you have to remember this. When solving inequalities, it's very important. When solving inequalities with negative coefficient, you must flip the sign for your final answer, okay, in order to have the correct solution results, okay? Let me just explain something. Let's say you are looking at this equation, -5x minus 2 equals 10. Okay, this number is called the constant. This number is called the constant. This number here, the number in front of x, is called the coefficient. It's called the coefficient of x, okay? So the number in front of x is called the coefficient. When the coefficient is negative, you're going to have to flip the sign of the inequality for your final answer, okay? I'll show you and I'll explain why. All right, so you see we have a negative coefficient right here. This is a negative coefficient. It's not positive. So we're going to have to flip our sign at the end. All right, let's solve it first. Let's divide both sides by -2. So then the answer is going to be, you would say this, okay? However, I just explained that the final answer, if we are multiplying or dividing by a negative coefficient, we have to flip our sign. So the final answer should be this. Should be x is greater than -5. That should be the final answer. I think this looks confusing with this arrow. There, that should be the final answer. Okay, you're probably wondering, well, why? Okay, I'm going to show you why. Okay, your first answer, this one will be wrong. This one will be wrong. And this one will be right. This one will be right. Okay, so let's test it out. This is the parentheses represents our value for x. So we're testing this one actually, test. Let's see why this one is wrong. So they're saying that x is less than -5, okay? So that means -6 should be okay. Okay, -6 should be a solution according to this inequality. -7, -8, -9. Okay, according to this, these should be all true solutions. But let's see when we check it out. Let me move this over. Okay, so let's check out -6. So we're going to have 12 is less than 10. That doesn't make any sense. 12 is not less than 10. So that doesn't work. Let's try the next one. Okay, -10 times -7. Well, that's 14. 14 is not less than 10. So do you see the first inequality that we get gives us a false statement. All the solutions are false. Okay, now let's try the next one. Let me erase. And try the one where we flip the sign. And see if that gives us true results. Okay, so -2 less than 10, but this time, this one says I can use, okay, -4 is bigger than -5, -3, -2, anything bigger than -5 works according to this one here. Let's test it out. Put -4 here. Well, -2 times -4, that's 8, and 8 is less than 10. That works. Let's try the next one. -2 times -3 is less than 10. Let's see, that's 6 is less than 10. That works. Do you see that with this inequality, I get true solutions for my inequality, -2x less than 10? Okay, so that is why we have to flip the sign, okay, to get the correct inequality for our solution. All right, so let's go ahead and keep this in mind as we work the next problem. All right, the first thing I want you to notice is, all right, do you have a negative coefficient? Because if you have a negative coefficient, you're going to have to remember to flip your inequality sign at the end. And yes, you do. So we're going to have to remember to flip our inequality sign for our final answer. So divide both sides by -3. X is less than -5, but I have to flip, okay, my inequality sign to get a true solution. So this is the solution. And now we'll graph that. -5 is somewhere on the left. This will be open since there's no equal to, and all the numbers on the right, okay, are true solutions. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 11. And let's see, do we have a negative coefficient? Remember, this is called the constant. This is called the constant. And this is called the coefficient. Okay? So yes, we have a negative coefficient. That means we're going to have to flip the inequality sign at the end. So add 5 to both sides. We're going to have negative 3x is less than or equal to 19. Divide both sides by negative 3. So x, okay, we're going to have to flip because we just divided by negative inequality, so we flip it. 3 goes into 19 6 times because 6 times 3 is 18. But when I take 18 from the top, I'm still left with 1 over our denominator 3. Our fraction here was negative, so our mixed number should also be negative. So the answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 6 1/3. Let's go ahead and graph the solution set. 0, somewhere over here we'll say is negative 6 1/3. Okay, this is going to be a closed circle this time because of the equal sign underneath. And we want it to be negative 6 1/3 or greater. All right, get a head start on number 12. Okay, the first thing you should notice is, okay, does it have a negative coefficient? If it does, you know you have to flip the sign, okay, for your final answer. All right, let me try to catch up with you. So, did you add 4 to both sides as your first step? That means you'll have negative 1/2 x is greater than or equal to 9. Then you're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is negative 2 over 1. Both sides. This will cancel. 2's will cancel, giving us x. Okay, we did multiply by a negative coefficient, so we have to remember to flip the sign. So this gives us x is less than or equal to negative 18, 0. Negative 18 will be somewhere on the left. This will be what? Open or closed circle? Closed circle is correct. So it's going to be negative 18 or less. Okay, keep going. You're going to use your calculator here because you have decimals. Okay, let me go ahead and try to catch up with you. So you're going to add 6 to both sides. Divide both sides by negative 1.5. So x will be, okay, because I'm dividing by a negative coefficient, I have to flip the sign. And that'll give me negative 6. Okay, 0, negative 6 will be somewhere on the left. Closed or open? Closed is right. X is negative 6 or greater. Okay, go ahead and get started on number 14. All right, let me try to catch up with you. So add 8 to both sides. This will give us 24 on this side. Divide both sides by negative 1.2. Okay, we got to flip the sign because we just divided by a negative coefficient, and this should give us x is less than negative 20. How did you do? If you got that, good job. Now let's just graph the solution set. Negative 20 will be somewhere on the left. This will be an open circle going to the left. Okay, keep going. Okay, let me try to catch up. So add 6 to both sides. You have negative 8x is greater than 16. Divide both sides by negative 8. Because you're dividing by a negative coefficient, you have to flip the sign. You got that? Good job. And now, let's just graph it. Negative 2 will be on the left of 0, so we'll mark it there. So it'll be an open circle going to the left. Okay, let's keep going. Keep going. I believe these are the last two problems. right, let me try to catch up with you. So add 1.5 plus 1.5. This will give us negative 3x is greater than 3. We're going to have to divide both sides by negative 3. Now I'm dividing by a negative coefficient. So that means I have to flip the sign. And we'll just graph that. Open circle going to the left. All right, keep going. Okay, this is just a one-step inequality. We're just solving for x here. It's just one step. You don't have to add anything or subtract anything from both sides. That happens when you have a two-step equation. So all we have to do is multiply both sides by the reciprocal here. Negative 3 over 1, negative 3 over 1. All this will cancel, giving us x on this side. But remember, we just multiplied by a negative coefficient, so we have to flip the sign. And now we can graph our inequality. Somewhere on the left is negative 21. It's going to be open, and it's greater, okay? X is greater than negative 21. So it's going to the right. Yeah, there's still one more, I guess. All right, go ahead and try that one. Number 18. Okay, again, this is just a one-step inequality. There's nothing to add or subtract from both sides to get x by itself. You just have to multiply both sides by the negative reciprocal, which is negative 2 over 1. And then you'll get x, because these will cancel. X is less than, sorry. We have to flip the sign because we just multiplied both sides by a negative. So that'll be x is less than negative 8. Negative 8 will be somewhere on the left. Should be an open circle going to the left. Okay, you can't put it on the line like this if you want. You could do this. You have to make it darker. Okay, let's get some more practice, but this time we're not really solving, we're just graphing the inequality, right? Graph each inequality. All right, so let's say this is number 1. X is greater than negative 5. Graph that. You'll have questions like that, just like that, on the test. So 0's at the center. Negative 5 would be somewhere to the left. And x greater than that means we have an open circle going to the right. Okay, 2. X is less than negative 100. Go ahead and graph that. So negative 100 will be somewhere on the left of 0. So it'll be an open circle going to the left. Okay, here's where it gets tricky, and that's why I'm doing this. 3. 4 is greater than x. This is when it gets tricky and students get confused what direction this should be. So I'm suggesting you do this. Swap these. Rewrite that. So it reads this way. X here and 4 here. Because you flip these, you have to flip the inequality too. Okay? And then it's easier to see that this is going to be x is less than 4. It's easier to see and it's easier to graph for you. Okay? So this is 4 and it's going to be less than 4, just like that. Okay? This might be confusing. The first version might be confusing for some students. Okay? So you could rewrite it, swap them, or flip the 4 and the x. But because you flipped the 4 and the x, you have to flip the inequality sign. And when you put it in this form, you can see that your arrow is going to go to the left. It's going to match this symbol right here. So the symbol is pointing to the left. Your solution will be going to the left. So they will correspond. And that's one way you can tell that you got the right answer. Okay, let's do another one. 4. 6 is greater than x. Go ahead and try that. Okay, so you might want to flip the x and the 6, but then you have to flip the inequality sign too, and then you know that it's going to be less than 6. You're clear that it's going to be less than 6. So it will be an arrow going to the left, because this one might confuse you. You might think you have to draw your arrow to the right. Okay, let's try some more. Go ahead and try that one. So you're going to swap these two or flip them. So x will be here, negative 3 will be here. As a result, we have to flip the inequality to keep this statement true. Okay, so negative 3 will be somewhere to the left. It'll be closed, and negative 3 or less is our solution set. We'll do one more. Okay, so flip them. X, okay, negative 24 here, but you got to flip the inequality sign since you flip those numbers around. Okay, so then x is greater than negative 24. Here's negative 24, and it's greater. Okay, I want to review one more thing. Scientific notation. So some of you are still having problem with adding and subtracting with scientific notation. So let's look at some examples. Let's get something different. Let's say 4. Okay, so add these two numbers and give your answer in scientific form. Okay, remember when we're adding in scientific form, the powers have to match. This power has to match this power. They both have to match. And remember, we always choose to change the smaller power to match the higher power. So this one here has got to match the other one. That means we're going to have to add 2. We're going to have to add 2 to 4. No, you can't see that. Let me fix that so you can see it. So you have to add 2 here. Try that again. Use a different color. Okay, you have to add 2 so I can show my work. All right, you just made this bigger, okay? By 100 actually. When you move the decimal 2 places to the right, that means you made it bigger by 100. So you got to make this, you got to divide this by 100. That means you have to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So it's going to be 0.04 times 10 to the 6th plus 8 times 10 to the 6th. Now we're ready to add. So 8 plus 0.04 is 8.04 times, keep your common power. That's it. Okay, you try one. So we have to have matching power since we're adding. So that means this one, we're going to add 2 here. Okay, we just made this bigger by 100. So we have to make this smaller by 100 by dividing. Okay, by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, if you make the back number bigger, you got to make the front number smaller. So now we're ready. The 0.03 times 10 to the 4th power plus 2 times 10 to the 4th power. Okay, we can add our numbers. 0.03 plus 2 is 2.03 times our common power, 10 to the 4th power. You got that? Good job. Now let's do one with subtraction. Subtract. Go ahead and try that. Okay, we need matching powers. We don't have that yet. So that means we have to add 2 here. Okay, well, we just made this larger by 100. We have to divide this by 100. Okay, we've got to make this smaller. So we're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, and now we're ready to subtract. This will be 0.25 times 10 to the 6. They're equivalent. They're just different forms. Okay, we can go ahead and subtract 5 minus 0.25 is 4.75. And we keep our common power 10 to the 6. Okay? Last one. Okay, again, you're going to need matching powers. Since this is 7, this is 6, we'll add to this one here 1. But we just made this bigger by 10. We have to divide this by 10 or just move the decimal 1 place to the left. Okay, so now we have 8 times 10 to the 7 here minus 0.4 times 10 to the 7th here. Okay, well, 8 minus 0.4 is 7.6 times, keep our common power. Okay? And this concludes this video on solving and graphing inequalities and more.